A stranger at midnight, the millionaire's secret that changed everything forever. The clock struck 12, and shadows danced like madmen across the walls of the Brixton mansion. The air was thick with the scent of secrets and danger. That night, something broke the stillness. A figure cloaked in darkness appeared at the grand entrance. The townsfolk knew that rich Brixton, the reclusive millionaire, rarely welcomed guests. Yet, there stood a stranger, his dark silhouette splashed against the moonlight, a haunting image that would chill anyone's spine. Who was he? What did he want? Every breath felt heavy with suspense as the mansion's secrets clung to the night like a thick fog. Inside, a storm brewed. Rich sat in the vast expanse of his living room, walls lined with portraits capturing decades of Brixton legacy. His hands trembled with impatience. The wood crackled under the weight of his anxiety. Rich could sense it, a calamity looming just beyond the threshold. Rumors swirled like leaves in the autumn wind, but this time, they carried an unusual scent of menace. The townspeople whispered about the treasures hidden deep within the mansion. What could this stranger know that would threaten everything? As the door creaked open, silence enveloped the room. The stranger walked in slowly. The atmosphere thickened like molasses, each heartbeat echoed like a drum. Rich's pulse quickened. Anxiety clawed at his chest, the tension crackled like static in the air. All thoughts of wealth and power seemed irrelevant as he felt the weight of impending devastation. The stranger's eyes flickered with something dangerous, knowledge, perhaps. Or was it something darker? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the murky tension thickened, Rich could barely breathe. The stranger approached, his voice a chilling whisper. You're sitting on a bomb, Brixton, and I'm here to light the fuse. Each word dripped with gravity, setting Rich's heart racing. He could feel the walls closing in, the musty scent of the room suddenly suffocating. The danger was real, and this stranger was the key to it all. What was the truth hiding in their shadows? As the clock echoed ominously, Rich's mind spun out of control, desperately grasping for answers that seemed just out of reach. Rich's mouth went dry. His heart thundered as he forced himself to meet the stranger's gaze. What do you want? The question felt weak, barely a whisper against the whirlwind in his mind. The stranger's lips curled into a sinister smile. I want what's buried beneath this house, and you're the only one who can give it to me. His eyes glimmered with a mixture of thirst and determination, as if the shadows whispered secrets only he could hear. Buried? Rich's voice cracked. The notion spun around his head. His father's rumblings over whiskey and cigar smoke echoed back to him the stories of hidden treasures, of secrets meant to stay buried. Just how deep did those secrets run? Very deep, the stranger replied, his tone dripping with amusement. But I don't just need the location. You have something else I desire. He stepped closer, shadow mingling with Rich's light. Your cooperation. Rich's instincts kicked in. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. You must be mistaken. I don't know anything. A clenching sensation tightened around his throat. Oh, but you do. The stranger's voice slithered through the air. I've done my homework, Brixton. You play the reclusive millionaire while the town whispers about the treasure. They don't realize it's not what's hidden that's valuable, but the one who keeps it. Fear twisted within him. Why me? Because they trust you, the stranger said, his voice low and deliberate. And trust is a fragile thing. Just look at your nice life here. It could all crumble like dust if you help me. Rich's mind raced, thoughts flashing through his head like lightning. You think I'll turn against my own? Your own? The stranger laughed softly, the sound echoing ominously through the mansion. The same own who speak of you in fearful tones and envy your power? They would hesitate for a moment should the wind shift. Loyalty only lasts as long as the coin shines bright. The truth of it bit. A chill crawled up his spine. Hadn't he seen distrust simmer beneath the surface of every polite smile in town? What do you really want? He forced out, searching for the man's weakness, any sign of vulnerability beneath that shadowy demeanor. Simple. The stranger leaned in even closer, the scars of his world etched deeply into his expression. I want the coordinates of the vault beneath the mansion. You know where it is. I can help you find it if you let me. A vault. Hidden treasure. All those stories came crashing back, overwhelming and disorienting. And what happens if I refuse you? The air turned electric, and the stranger's face twisted slightly, revealing a chill beneath the surface. Then I'll have to do something reckless, something that would make you wish you had cooperated. Rich's heart raced. He could feel the floor trembling underfoot, more dangerous than it had ever been. What was the stranger really capable of? The possibilities roared like a storm, each one more terrifying than the last. What's your name? Rich demanded, trying to regain control. The stranger straightened, a glint of respect in his eyes. You'll find out soon enough, Brixton. But tonight, it's not about names. It's about choices. Rich could see the walls closing in, the shadows clawing at him in the dim light. Panic swelled in his chest. He was caught in a web of danger and deception, with no clear way out. The clock struck 1, each chime a reminder of the ticking time left for decisions to be made. His choice loomed before him, dark and ominous, suffocating him under its weight. Would he reveal the secrets of the vault? Or let the stranger's threat ignite a fire he might not be able to control? Tension thickened in the air as silence fell heavy again, both of them waiting for the other to blink. But as the weight of the stranger's presence pressed down, one thing became clear: one way or another, this night would end in chaos and the next revelation would change everything. Rich's mind swirled, caught between fear and an unsettling curiosity. The room felt alive, pulsing with the promise of something darker than he could comprehend. The ticking clock echoed in his ears, a relentless reminder that time was slipping away. What do you know about the vault? He asked, trying to buy himself a moment, hoping for a crack in the stranger's facade that would reveal some angle he could exploit. The stranger's smile widened, revealing jagged teeth that seemed too sharp for comfort. More than you could ever guess, Brixton. It's not just treasure, it's leverage, power hidden from the eyes of the world. But you hold the key. He pointed a long, bony finger toward Rich's chest. Without your help, all you'll have left is the wreckage of your empire. Rich swayed on his feet. Every instinct told him to run, to escape this creeping dread, yet something anchored him in place, a combination of intrigue and fear. What makes you think I'll lead you there? You're not exactly charming. Charming isn't what you need, the stranger replied, his tone darkening. You need to realize what's at stake. I've tangled with your father's past. I know things that could unravel everything you hold dear. Wouldn't it be better to be aligned with me? We'll claim what's ours, and you can protect your legacy. Suddenly, a chill ran through him. The stranger's words echoed the warnings he had often dismissed. His father had always spoken in cryptic terms about the family's history, fables woven through generations. How many of those fables had hidden truths waiting to be unearthed? Graveyards hide more than just bones, the stranger continued, almost to himself, his gaze drifting to the nearby window where moonlight spilled in like liquid silver. Your family has buried more than just their secrets. There's blood, money and betrayal, and it's all right here, beneath this very ground. Rich swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his father's legacy pressing against his chest. If you think I'd betray my family for treasure, you don't know me at all. I won't lead you anywhere. The stranger's smile faded, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. You think you can outsmart me? I hold the cards, Brixton. You can comply, or you can watch everything you cherish crumble. Your friends, your fortune, your very existence. The choice is yours. A jolt of adrenaline shot through him, and Rich's thoughts raced as he pictured everything he stood to lose. His business, the people he cared about. How deep would the stranger's reach go if he pressed for answers? Rich couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. This wasn't just a casual threat. This was a promise of devastation. "Who are you?" Rich demanded, his voice gaining strength. "What do you really want with the vault? You're not here for mere treasure, are you?" The stranger's eyes gleamed with a predatory fire. "Ah, now we're getting somewhere. The vault holds history, secrets that could rewrite everything, power that transcends wealth. But you still have a choice, Brixton. You can help me uncover it, or you can hold on to your disillusioned loyalty until your world collapses around you." Rich's heart raced as he stepped back, grappling with the overwhelming sense of betrayal brewing within him. The walls felt like they were closing in, growing darker, heavier. Time is ticking. The longer you hesitate, the more precarious your situation becomes, the stranger taunted, his voice a low hiss. "Make your choice." Rich clenched his fists, the desperation rising inside him. What if he refused? What if stepping away from this twisted game embroiled his family in greater danger? He needed information, allies, a plan, but could he trust anyone, even himself, to make the right decision under such pressure? Outside, the wind howled, rattling the old windows like a ghostly warning. He was on the precipice of something far larger than he anticipated, and the only certainty was that decisions made here tonight would change everything. With his pulse pounding, Rich prepared to confront the unknown. Would he betray his family's past to secure a troubling future? In that heart-stopping moment before his voice broke the silence, questions surged through his mind. What were the depths of the vault? And the biggest question of all, what would he become if he chose to dive deep into those mysteries? The decision loomed, shrouded in shadows, waiting for him to unravel the threads of fate that had tangled them all together. Rich leaned against the rough wood of the wall, his heart hammering in his chest. The room felt suffocating, thick with tension and the promise of ominous revelations. He could nearly taste the desperation clinging to the air. The stranger's eyes seemed to bore into him, waiting for his answer like a predator stalking its prey. "Why me?" Rich finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What makes you think I'm capable of this? I don't know the first thing about whatever secrets lie in that vault." The stranger's laughter echoed, sharp and chilling. "That's precisely why you're the key, Brixton. You're the undeserving heir, ignorant of your family's true legacy. But ignorance can be a tool, and I need you to walk through the doors that have remained closed for too long." Rich shook his head, disbelief crashing over him like a tidal wave. "You think I'd just take your word for it? Trust a man who appears in the dead of night like some sort of ghost?" "Believe me," the stranger said, his voice dropping to a gravelly whisper, "this ghost knows more about your family than you do. Secrets that could tear apart the very fabric of what you've built. I've seen the dangers lurking in the shadows. I've felt the fires of treachery you couldn't possibly fathom. And they're hungry." Panic laced through Rich's veins. Was this real? Or had he stumbled into a twisted nightmare? Every word felt like a trap, yet the undercurrent of truth tugged at him. "How do I know this isn't some game? This could all be a lie." He shot back, desperation fueling his anger. The stranger stepped closer, the air thickening with menace. "And how do you know it isn't time for the truth to rise? If you want to help me, I'll have to seek out others, those who want to hesitate to betray you. You be left defenseless. Your empire? It won't withstand the tempest that's heading your way." Rich's fists clenched harder, knuckles whitening as he fought to keep his composure. He could almost see the storm brewing on the horizon, a dark tide of events waiting to engulf the remnants of his carefully constructed life. If this man held even a sliver of the truth, he was standing at a crossroads that could change everything. "What do you want from me?" Rich asked, finally breaking the silence that had wrapped around them. "An alliance," he rasped, his sharp smile cutting through the tension. "Together, we'll unlock the vault, expose the past hidden away. Think of it a chance to take back control, to rebuild your legacy with the unvarnished truth." Rich hesitated, the urge to flee battling with a compulsion to learn more. The vault could hold the secrets of his family, but what else could it unleash? What buried horrors awaited him? He felt legs pulling toward the abyss of uncertainty. The clock continued to tick, each second stretching into an eternity. I can't just walk away from my family's name. You don't understand what's at stake here. Oh, but I do, the stranger whispered. The very name you cling to is built upon a foundation of lies and blood. Wouldn't you want to turn that foundation into something worth standing on? Rich felt the weight of his father's legacy pressed down on him, a heavy shroud he had carried for far too long. The thought of betrayal sat like a lump in his throat, but so did the tantalizing notion of revelation. What is the next step? He asked, surprising both himself and the stranger. Fear mixed with a strange exhilaration. Meet me here again tomorrow at midnight, the stranger said, his eyes glinting with a predatory satisfaction. Bring someone you trust, someone who knows these secrets. Trust? Rich scoffed. Do I even know what that means anymore? Trust is for those who live in the light, the stranger said, slipping into the shadows like a wraith. We, however, are venturing deep into the darkness. Tomorrow brings the first of many choices. And just like that, he vanished, leaving Rich standing alone, heart racing, teetering on the edge of an abyss. As the night encompassed him, he fought the rising dread. He could potentially unearth ruinous secrets of his family or touch a legacy that might destroy him. Would he dare to plunge into the unknown or pull back to safer shores? The stakes had never felt higher, and as he grappled with his choices, he realized he wasn't the only one watching from the darkness. There were eyes in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Tomorrow would tell if Rich would emerge intact or find himself deeper in the web spun around his family's name. What horrors awaited him beneath the surface? The night felt colder, breathing a biting chill that seeped through the cracks of Rich's thoughts. After the stranger disappeared, the silence of the room felt alive, wrapping around him with a quiet insistence. He leaned against the wall as memories flooded back his father's stern gaze, the way his mother used to smile before darkness blinked into their lives. Rich couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows held whispers of secrets long buried, ones that could unravel everything he thought he knew. His mind raced. Should he tell someone about the meeting? He couldn't trust anyone. At least, that's what he kept telling himself. But the desperation clawed at him. He needed an ally, someone who could either share in this madness or help him navigate it. Laughter echoed down the hall, laughing voices carrying warmth that felt cruel against the backdrop of his cold reality. Rich stepped closer to the door, curiosity pulling him. He grabbed the handle and hesitated. What if they knew what he was about to pursue? What if they were connected in some way to the vault and the stranger's demands? The uncertainty was heavy, but he forced himself to push through the door. The lively chatter washed over him, grounding him momentarily in this mundane world, but the sight of his friends felt like a lifeline that was quickly slipping away. "Hey, Rich!" shouted Alex, raising a glass of whiskey. "Join us. We're discussing our next adventure. You know, living life without a care?" Rich plastered on a quick smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just dealing with some stuff. You guys have fun." He turned away, heading toward the back door, the laughter fading behind him. The night still loomed, he felt it breathing down his neck. The vault awaited him, possibly filled with dark secrets ready to spill out into the light. The thought gnawed at him as he strolled outside, the damp air clinging to his skin. He needed to breathe. He needed clarity. His phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a text from Claire, his sister. "Can we talk? I've been thinking about Dad's things lately." The words felt weighty, layered with the unasked questions hiding between the lines. Claire had always been the one more invested in the foundation they had built. Yet his gut churned with an instinct to keep her out of this mess, but how could he? She had a right to know. "Meet me at our old spot?" he replied, thumb shaking over the screen. He knew the place well, a silent creek they used to escape to when the world felt too heavy. They would toss stones into the water, letting their burden sink beneath the surface. As he stepped into the trees, a shiver raced up his spine. The old wooden dock creaked under him, echoing his inner turmoil. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with the fresh, sharp scent of pine. A familiar shape emerged from the shadows. Claire, standing by the water, her face illuminated by moonlight. "Rich," she called softly, almost as if testing the water. "What's going on? You look troubled." He wanted to tell her everything. But the weight of the stranger's threats loomed in his mind. Would uncovering their past bring pain or awareness? "Just needed to talk," he said, his voice unsteady, hanging between truth and deception. Just then, a rustle broke through the stillness of the night, snapping Rich's attention. Before he could register the sound, a figure darted past the trees with a knowing haste, vanishing into the darkness. His heart raced, a new curiosity and fear battling for dominance. "Did you see that?" Rich asked, grabbing Claire's arm. "What?" she replied, searching the shadows. "See what?" But the moment broke, and Rich felt the weight shifting. Something was off, and they weren't alone. "Maybe we should head back," he suggested, but even as he spoke, he felt a heavy prickle at the back of his neck. They were being watched. This thought echoed soft but powerful inside him. Rich couldn't shake off the feeling of dread. Tomorrow would force him to step through the threshold of truth. But tonight? Tonight held its own dark secrets. What waited in the folds of darkness, haunting their footsteps, ready to spring forth when they least expected it? The air felt thicker now, wrapped in an unsettling tension. Rich scanned the shadows, the thoughts racing in his mind barely keeping pace with the hard thumping of his heart. The figure he saw had not been a trick of the light. He was sure of it. A lump formed in his throat as his gaze darted from tree to tree, anticipating another flash of movement. "Rich? What's going on?" Claire's voice cut through the haze, urgent and laced with confusion. Her eyes searched him, her brow knitted in concern, but the night's darkness made it hard to read her expression. He exhaled sharply, forcing himself to look at her. "I think someone's out there." Each word felt heavy with dread. "I swear I just saw someone run past us." "Are you sure?" Claire glanced nervously toward the tree line, each rustle of leaves amplifying her fear. "It's probably just an animal." But deep down, Rich felt a chill that surpassed the cold night air. No. It was too fast. It felt deliberate. As his mind raced with possibilities, friend or foe, a specter of their past or a new player in their story, a loud crack echoed to their right, breaking the fretting silence. They both flinched. "Rich, we should go," Claire urged, gripping his arm as she pulled back instinctively, her breath quickening. "Wait!" He held her still, both panic and protective instinct bubbling within him. "We can't just run. We need to know who or what it is." A fleeting thought crossed his mind. What if it had something to do with the vault? What if it was the stranger? Shaking off his fear, he took a cautious step forward, urging Claire to follow. Underneath their cautious exploration, a primal urge took hold, a need to confront whatever lurked in the dark. As they peered deeper into the gloom, a glint caught Rich's eye, something reflecting the moonlight, glimmering like a trapped star among the branches. Crouching down, he carefully made his way toward it, his thoughts swirling with confusion and determination. "What are you doing?" Claire whispered, her voice a tight whisper almost drowned out by the slap of his pulse in his ears. "Just hang tight." He slid behind a neighbor's thick tree trunk, heart thrumming, then peeked around. The reflection was from a small metallic object half buried in the dirt. With shaky fingers, he plucked it out, revealing a silver locket. "What is that?" Claire's curiosity mingled with trepidation, and her pulse quickened in tandem with Rich's. "It looks like a locket," he said softly, for the moment forgetting their fear. He turned it over in his palm. It felt cool and heavy, like a secret waiting to be unleashed. That's when he heard its footsteps. Steady, purposeful footsteps approaching, cutting through the night air like a knife. A rush of adrenaline surged through him as he exchanged a look with Claire, who now held her breath, eyes wide and filled with dread. Rich tucked the locket into his pocket and gestured for Claire to follow him behind a thick cluster of bushes. The shadows felt alive now, alive with threats whispered in places beyond their understanding. "Who's there?" a voice barked, cutting through the tension like glass. It was low, intimidating. Not just anyone, this was someone they didn't want to cross. Rich's mind raced. Was this connected to the vault? Were they too deep into something they had no right to touch? "We shouldn't be here," he breathed, dread echoing in his chest as he peered toward the voice. They pressed against the brush, hearts pounding faster. The footsteps drew closer, each one resonating with danger. They had stepped into a shadow that might consume them both. Then the figure stepped into view, a silhouette framed by the moon, cloaked in darkness. And with a terrible clarity, Rich understood. Tomorrow would bring answers, but tonight had its own reckoning. "Claire," he whispered. "You need to run." But just as he turned, their eyes locked on the figure who smiled a smile full of promises and threats. "Thought you'd be here," it said with a voice full of secrets. Was this the stranger? Did they already know more than they should? The chilling truth began to surface, and Rich knew they were far from safe as a single question hung heavy in the air. What did they want from them? The night clawed at their senses, pulling forth a dark chapter that was only beginning. Rich's heart raced, a wild drum echoing deep in his chest as the figure emerged from the shadows. The moonlight painted the stranger in an eerie silver, accentuating the sharpness of their features and the glint of something metallic at their side. Claire's grip tightened around Rich's arm, fingers trembling like leaves caught in a tempest. "Who are you?" Rich managed, his voice steady despite the panic brewing inside him. A constellation of fear flickered in Claire's eyes, mirroring his own uncertainty. "Someone who knows more than you think," the stranger replied, their voice smooth like velvet but edged with something dark and unsettling. "And you too, you've stepped into a place that doesn't belong to you." Rich felt the confidence start to slip away, replaced by a stark awareness of their vulnerability. The locket pressed against his chest seemed to thrum with energy, as if it held the key to what lay ahead. "We didn't mean any harm," he said, trying to keep his voice calm. "We were just curious." "Curiosity can be dangerous," the stranger warned, stepping closer. The metallic object at their side glimmered ominously, a knife or some tool of intimidation. "Your interest in a certain vault has caught more than just my attention. It involves more players than you realize." Rich exchanged a quick glance with Claire, her eyes wide and pleading. It was clear they were on the precipice of something profound and potentially catastrophic. "What do you know about the vault?" he pressed, feeling a surge of defiance amid the uncertainty. "Everything," the figure replied, eyes narrowed, as if measuring the weight of his words. "And nothing you want to hear. What's in there isn't meant for people like you." The moonlight flickered, heavy clouds drifting across the sky as Rich stood rooted, pulses thrumming wildly, brain firing questions in an out-of-control whirlwind. Why were they being targeted? What was the vault hiding that made them such a risk? "Listen," Rich said, aware that their backs were against the proverbial wall. "We need to know what's going on. If you have information, just tell us." A chuckle escaped the stranger's lips, devoid of warmth, igniting a shrill chill that prickled Rich's skin. "And if I do what then? You'll just run right back to your little lives, pretending none of this happened?" "No, I can't let that happen." Rich's heart plummeted at the realization that they might be entangled deeper than they had ever imagined. The stranger straightened, imposing and relentless. "But I could give you a choice. Follow me, learn the truth behind this vault, and discover what you're really involved in, or walk away now and pretend tonight was just a nightmare." "Wait," Claire breathed, stepping slightly forward. "You can't just expect us to follow you blindly. What if this is a trap?" The stranger's eyes flashed with intrigue. "That's the beauty of it. You decide your path, but make no mistake, you've already chosen it by coming here." The night air thickened as tension crackled like static around them. Rich's throat felt tight, as if the very expression of his fear was choking him. He glanced at Claire, whose uncertainty was palpable. "Did they dare follow this stranger? Why should we trust you?" Rich asked, trying to project strength, yet every fiber of his being screamed to escape. "Because," the stranger responded, "the truth is coming for you whether you like it or not." And it's more terrifying than you can imagine. The shadows seemed to wrap tighter around them, unbearably heavy, as Rich felt the walls of his reality closing in. Was escape even a possibility, or were they already ensnared in a web far beyond their control? What do we have to lose? He finally murmured, the weight of inevitability settling upon him like a shroud. Claire looked at him, eyes flickering with fear, but also a spark of resolve. We need to know, then we'll see what lies ahead, Rich whispered back, determination creeping in. The figure smiled, a quiet satisfaction lining their lips. Welcome to the edge of the abyss. And with that, the world shifted. The trees around them warped, the path ahead unraveling in both directions, laden with secrets and danger. What lay beyond was both a plunge into darkness and a search for truth that might change everything. But as they followed, a nagging question stayed rooted in Rich's mind: what had they truly signed up for? The very fabric of their lives was about to unravel, and the stakes were higher than they ever imagined. The atmosphere thickened as they stepped forward onto a path that seemed to breathe with a life of its own. Shadows danced around them, pulling at the edges of Rich's sanity, whispering threats and promises entwined in one continuous thread. Rich felt Claire's hand slip away as she stumbled slightly. Panic surged through him, tightening his chest. "Stay close," he called, glancing back as the figure seemed to glide effortlessly ahead. They were trapped both within this twisted forest and in the stranger's web. "What did you call this place?" Claire asked, her voice barely above a whisper, strained with disbelief. The stranger paused, turning slightly. The knife at their side caught the flickering moonlight again, reflecting it back like a menacing eye. "The edge of the abyss," they replied, and there was a peculiar satisfaction in the way they spoke, as if they relished the terror it instilled. Rich shivered, an involuntary reaction to the words hanging in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. "What does that mean? Are we in danger?" "Danger? Perhaps." The stranger laughed softly, once more stepping into the depths of the trees. "But it's not the danger you should fear. It's the truth." The ground beneath them was uneven, roots protruding like skeletal fingers clawing up from the earth. Claire stumbled again, this time catching herself against a gnarled tree, its bark rough and ancient. "Rich," she breathed, her eyes wide with uncertainty. "Just a little further," the stranger urged, their tone shifting between coaxing and commanding. Rich could sense the tension coiling tighter in Claire. The shadows felt like an endless chase, and they were running blind, but what awaited them felt inevitable. As they moved deeper into the wooded gloom, the strange figure halted abruptly, gesturing toward a clearing up ahead. Rich's heart lurched in his chest. The trees parted, revealing a small stone structure, its entrance dark and foreboding. Symbols carved into the stone pulsed softly with a strange light, illuminating the eerie environment. It felt alive. "What is that?" Claire asked, a tremor in her voice. "The vault," the stranger replied, stepping forward. "Inside lies the truth, the secrets that drew you in, the reason for your curiosity." Rich's pulse quickened. The revelation was as electrifying as it was frightening. What could they possibly find there? What truth awaited? Why us? Why bring us here? Claire pressed, her resolve and fear battling within her. "Because you both sought it. And now it seeks you," the stranger said, a smirk creeping onto their lips. "Step inside if you dare. But know this, not all truths are easy to bear." Rich exchanged a glance with Claire, the weight of the choice pressing upon them. Did they dare step into the abyss? What if they discovered something that shattered their lives? Together? He asked, his voice trembling with anticipation. "Together," Claire replied, gripping his hand tightly once more. As they moved toward the entrance, the air shifted. A low hum resonated from within, vibrating through the stone as if the vault itself was awakening. Dark tendrils of fear slipped through Rich's mind as they crossed the threshold, plunging into a world that seemed to warp around them. Inside, the atmosphere was dense, charged with energy. The walls flickered with images, glimpses of lives and stories, secrets hung heavy in the air like fog. Rich felt the locket burn against his chest, sending jolts of warmth through him, as though it held its own secret, one perhaps critical to the mystery unfolding. "Remember," the stranger's voice echoed, hanging like a warning behind them. Not all choices are made from strength. Sometimes, they are born from desperation. With those words lingering ominously in the stillness, Rich took a breath, plunging deeper into the darkness, the truth waiting just beyond the shadows. And as they stepped further inside, a bone-chilling realization set in. What if the truth was not what they expected, but something that could change everything forever? The dim glow of the vault flickered ominously, and Rich found himself asking a question that hung in the air. Was the truth they were chasing worth the cost of their very souls? The moment they crossed the threshold, the air thickened like molasses, wrapping tightly around them. Rich's heart raced, each beat echoing against the solid walls of the vault. A swirl of images flared to life, each fragment sparking emotions and memories so powerful they felt like a punch to the gut. Faces and voices, laughter mingled with screams, all twisted together like a tapestry woven from nightmares. "Can you hear that?" Claire whispered, her grasp tightening around Rich's hand. The hum reverberated through the stone, it vibrated in their bones. It was both inviting and repelling, luring them ever closer while warning them to turn back. "Yeah," Rich choked out, his throat dry. "It sounds alive." The stranger's laughter drifted back to them, soft yet sinister, mingling with the whispers of the vault. "Your fears and desires, they ask for attention, too. Will you let them out, or will you let them consume you?" "Stop," Claire said, her voice breaking. She was on the edge, her breath quickening. "What do you want from us?" "Only what you wish to become," the stranger replied, their features hidden in shadow. "The vault will unveil your heart's ambitions, the darkness you've avoided. But beware. What you unearth here will bind you to this place, its truths demanding payment." Rich felt bile rise in his throat. The implications of those words coiled in his gut like a venomous snake ready to strike. "What kind of payment?" he demanded, trying to conceal the tremor in his voice. The stranger shrugged, an eerie confidence imbued in their movements. "You'll find that out in due time. Just know, sometimes, the things we desire most come with chains attached. Are you willing to break free?" In that moment, Claire pulled away, letting the grip of fear guide her steps backward as if trying to retreat into the safety of the shadows. "We shouldn't be here, Rich. This isn't right." Rich's pulse hammered louder now, a piercing rhythm pushing against the edges of his resolve. "But we can't go back empty-handed. What if the answers we seek are in there?" "What if don't?" she interrupted, her voice trembling with urgency. "Don't say it again." But it was too late. An overwhelming urge surged through him, a need for answers that eclipsed his common sense. "I have to know, Claire. The truth has to be better than the abyss of uncertainty." At that moment, the vault shuddered, and the images on the walls began to morph, shifting from hazy memories to alarming visions, plunging into future moments drenched in despair and dread. Rich felt his breath catching in his throat. People he cared about, faces twisted in anguish, shadows looming ominously behind them. "Stop!" Rich shouted, clenching his fists. "What is this?" The stranger tilted their head, a glint of amusement dancing in their eyes. "Visions of what could be. The realm of possibilities, Rich." "And what do you see here?" Rich turned to Claire, desperation mingling with fear. "I can't leave it like this. Not like not knowing." With sudden resolve, Rich strode toward the center of the vault where the pulsating light beckoned with magnetic force. It drew him like a moth to a flame. Claire's protest fell silent behind him as he stepped closer, arms outstretched toward the glowing symbols, a primal force reining him in. Just as his fingertips grazed the stone, a blinding flash erupted from within, consuming the dark with brilliant light, then, silence. An icy chill washed over them as Rich blinked, the world around him shifting again. This time, instead of visions, voices filled the air, familiar and haunting. He could hear memories whispered like secrets caught on the wind. Rich's heart sank as the realization clawed at him. "Claire, we're not alone." And then he saw them, figures drifting through the haze, their faces obscured but their intentions clear. The shadows weren't just looming, they were coming for them. Stricken, Claire clutched his arm. "What do we do, Rich?" The walls shook around them, echoing their fear, but the impending dread of revelation gripped him tighter. "We face it. We have to find out what it wants before it's too late. As they prepared to confront the looming shadows, Rich felt the noxious mixture of dread and anticipation tightening in his gut. Were they stepping into their fates or unleashing something far worse? With hearts pounding and uncertainty thick in the air, they plunged further into the abyss, drawing closer to revelations that promised to shatter their lives forever, but at what cost? Rich stood in the vault, shadows swirling around him like hungry predators. The air buzzed with a churning energy, almost alive, and the sense of dread filled his chest, squeezing tighter with each pulse. He felt Claire grasping his arm, her fear palpable, a mirror of his own. The figures materialized from the darkness, faces obscured but their intentions clear. They floated, ethereal, caught between worlds, their eyes burning with an urgency that pierced through the veil of time. "What do you want from us?" Rich shouted, his voice breaking the suffocating silence that enveloped them. The figures remained silent, their presence hammering down on Rich and Claire, thickening the tension. Suddenly, the stranger's voice echoed through the vault. "What you've awakened are the echoes of your family's past, the choices made by those who came before you. The shadows crave acknowledgement." Rich felt Claire shudder beside him, the very idea that their family had summoned such darkness sending ripples of fear coursing through them. "Acknowledge? Why? What could we possibly owe them?" she cried out, her spirit faltering. "Everything," the stranger replied coolly, stepping closer as the flickering light from the walls cast unnerving patterns across their features. "Every choice not faced creates another shadow, a burden your family has carried for generations. You must confront what they left behind or succumb to it." Rich's heart hammered painfully in his chest, a chorus of memories crashing against his resolve. Would he dare face the ghosts of the past? Were the shadows a reflection of his family's sins or the weight of their unacknowledged legacy? He could feel the locket pressing fiercely against his skin, a reminder of the knowledge he had yet to unlock. "Claire," he breathed, seeking her eyes, filled with intense fear but also the flickering light of hope. "We can choose to break the cycle. We can confront this together." She nodded slowly, fear giving way to determination. "Together." "Then accept the truth," the stranger proclaimed, pulling back their hood to reveal familiar features layered with shadows, a face that mirrored Rich's father, hardened but with eyes that held the depth of their family's history. "No," Rich gasped, the reality crashing over him in waves of disbelief. How could this be?" "It doesn't matter who I am. Understand this, Rich, the vault holds the key to your family's success, but it also bears the weight of the pain and betrayal that forged your legacy." The air quivered with their words, compelling Rich to listen. "What has to happen?" Claire's voice quaked, but buried beneath was an unwavering resolve. "You must confront each shadow, listen to their stories. Only then can you unearth what your family has hidden from the world and from yourselves. But beware, the truth may be heavier than you anticipate," the stranger cautioned, a flicker of something almost paternal in their gaze. The floor beneath them trembled as Rich stepped forward, compelled by something far greater than fear. "If we do this, if we face our past, will it end?" A soft murmur hummed through the vault, mingling with the whispers echoing off the stone. He felt the weight of generations pressing down, waiting for him to decide whether to run or face the truth head-on. "You must decide now. Will you walk the path of the past or retreat back into the shadows of ignorance?" The question hung heavy, trembling in the air. It was a choice he could not ignore any longer. Rich took a deep breath, glancing at Claire. "We can't let our family's darkness define us. We need to know." "Together," Claire repeated, a fierce spark igniting within her. "Together," Rich echoed, clenching her hand tight. The shadows shivered, swirling with an energy that felt almost jubilant, a recognition of their decision. One by one, the figures began to step forward. Silence fell as the first figure broke through the threshold, revealing a man with weary eyes, worn by the burdens of choices long made. "Your ancestors made mistakes," he began, voice gravelly with pain. "Mistakes shaped by fear and greed. I am here to share my story, to teach you the weight of our family's legacy, to illuminate the shadows that bind us." With each tale unfolding, secrets crept into the open, heavy with sorrow, hope, and the chance for redemption. The past echoed in Rich's mind, reshaping his understanding of loyalty and betrayal, of love and loss. As the last shade recounted a tale of redemption lost to despair, Rich felt an understanding wash over him like a tide. "We can forgive," he whispered to Claire, realizing that this was the cornerstone of breaking the cycle. The shadows twinkled with flickers of approval, dancing on the surface of the vault. "Yes," one echoed, "forgiveness is the key to liberation. Only then will the burdens holding you hostage fade into light." Rich felt the locket warm against his chest, a symbol of a future unwritten. They had faced fear, trauma, and darkness, but now, in the heart of the vault, flickering shadows of hope emerged. "Let go of what has haunted you," Rich urged Claire as he turned to confront the lingering specters. "Let us take back our family's legacy." The atmosphere changed, the darkness receding like a tide pulled away, revealing paths toward potential, towards healing. Around them, the vault vibrated with energy, a promise of rebirth in the aftermath of confronting their past. Hand in hand, Rich and Claire stepped away from the shadows, the vault's whispers fading into the night as they emerged, strengthened and forever changed. They were no longer the chained heirs of a tangled history, they were the architects of their future, determined never to let the shadows claim their story again. As dawn broke over Brixton Mansion, light poured into the once dark corners, chasing away lingering fears. Together, they embraced the new day, ready to reclaim what was rightfully theirs: truth, legacy, and hope. Now, as the sun rose and painted the world anew, remember this: each decision is a brushstroke on the canvas of your life. Face your truth and forge ahead, because the power to change everything lies within you. But before you leave, listen closely, dear friends, you need to subscribe now so you don't miss any of our exclusive stories coming up. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and share your reactions. Flood the comment section with your theories. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this exhilarating conclusion. Your support is what keeps this journey alive.